Hi, my name's Ray Krone. I was living a normal life in Phoenix, Arizona, working for the U.S. Postal Service. Had my own home and a good life going. And one day I was questioned concerning the murder of a local barmaid, a bar that I played darts for, I played volleyball at. She was found stabbed to death in the men's bathroom by the owner. There was no sign of entry, nothing was missing from the cash register or stolen. And so they questioned her coworkers about who she'd been seeing, who she liked, who she was dating. My name came up. I was interviewed and questioned by the police concerning her murder. I had nothing to do with it. I was home in bed, had nothing to worry about. And for the next 2 days, they questioned me, took blood samples, photos, took hair samples, took teeth impressions. I cooperated, told them what little I knew. And I thought that was all at the end of it. The next day, I was arrested for a murder. They found a mark on her body. They said it matched my teeth. And so I was arrested. My family and folks believed in me. I didn't think I had anything to worry about because I didn't do anything. My friends sent attorneys in to interview me. And I found out how much it was going to cost me in the range of $100,000. So I decided, well, I'll just allow the public defender's office to represent me. And I was given a court-appointed attorney. The judge granted him $5,000 to defend me. $5,000 in a capital murder case. So I got what they paid for. I got very little representation, very little investigative work was done. Within just 6 months of this murder, I was sitting in trial. They brought a bite mark expert in. A man who testified that marks in the body matched my teeth, that my teeth were unique, that the bite mark happened at the time of her death, and that made me Ray Krone the murderer. The trial lasted just 3.5 days. I was found guilty of murder and kidnapping, and I was sentenced to death because I refused to show remorse. I didn't commit the crime. How do you show remorse for a crime you didn't commit? I went to death row. For the next 3 years, I survived in a small cell the size of most people's bathroom, cinder block walls. I got out of there 3 times a week for 2 hours, Monday, Wednesday, and Friday. 2 phone calls a month to my family was all I was allowed. I ate cold food just about all the time because the food was prepared elsewhere, brought and sat in our hallways waiting for the police officers to deliver the food to us whenever they felt like it. And I realized if I'm going to fight the system, I needed to know the system. Not ever been in trouble with the law, didn't know anything about it. I started going to the law library, studying the law books, started helping other inmates. I got a job in the law library even. And after 3 years, my case came before the Arizona Supreme Court. And during my trial, the day before trial, the prosecutor introduced a videotape made by their bite mark expert. Very impressive videotape of how he matched my teeth to this bite mark. And my attorney objected. As a defendant in the United States, you have a right to know what evidence is going to be used against you. You have a right to receive that evidence in a timely manner so you can prepare your defense. They're not allowed to surprise you. They're not supposed to hide evidence. And so when the Arizona Supreme Court reviewed this issue, the judge allowed this evidence in. And they said the judge was wrong. And my attorney had asked for continuance, asked for 30 more days to postpone the trial so that he could prepare for this evidence. And the judge denied that. And so the Arizona Supreme Court recognizes a violation of my rights to a fair trial. They recognize the violations of the rights to the rules of discovery, and they ordered a new trial. After spending 3 years on death row, I recognized that they could and would kill you. The state had the power and fully intended to carry out the execution. And it wasn't about truth or justice. It was just about getting somebody convicted and charged with a crime so they could write it off the books. Me and my family realized that this was serious now. And so my family mortgaged their home, cashed in their retirement funds. Friends and families had different types of donations and made homemade goods and things for sale donated to my family. And we were able to hire a private attorney. And we couldn't come nowhere near the normal fee that he would charge, but he believed in my case. He'd heard about my case and said, let me represent Ray. And my family agreed. He said he just wanted to do it for the expenses, whatever it would cost to carry it out through the trial. And that trial started in February of 1996 and lasted 6.5 weeks. Over 500 exhibits were introduced, over 30 experts testified. 3 bite mark experts alone testified for the defense. There was hair samples, there was DNA samples, there was blood samples were found, footprints were found, all pointing to someone else. My family came out from Pennsylvania and sat through that trial for that 6.5 weeks. Newspapers, local newspapers were there reporting. And each day we felt good, we felt stronger, we felt better because my attorney had done a good job. He brought out the truth, he brought out questions of guilt, brought out evidence of other people possible involvement. And I thought justice was going to be done. And after 6.5 weeks, the jury went out to deliberate, and in just 3.5 days they came back and found me guilty again. As bad as it was the first time being found guilty, it was nowhere near the heartache, the heartbreak, the outrage of this second time, because I still had faith in the system. I believed that the truth had come out, and reasonable doubt should certainly have prevailed. And the jury had tears in their eyes. They were wiping as the verdict was read. The judge's voice was breaking up when he was reading the verdict. My big attorney was hanging on my shoulder saying, I can't believe this isn't over yet. I'm with you till the end. And I look over at the prosecution and they're jumping up and down like they just won the big game. And I just can't believe this. And I hear this horrible moan and sobbing sound coming right behind me from my mom and my sister not 5 feet away. And I'm just looking around and dumbfounded and saying, this can't be real. Just start this over again. This can't be really happening again. But it was. And again, I went before the judge for sentencing. And I told my attorney, I have nothing to mitigate. I have nothing to apologize for. I have no remorse because I didn't commit this murder. And he said, you let me handle this. And for the next 3 hours, he went over all the pieces of evidence that pointed to someone else. Why footprints in the kitchen where the murder weapon, a knife, was taken from? Same footprints found around the body in the men's bathroom where the body was found. Did not match me. They were a size 9 and I wear a size 11. Why fingerprints in the bathroom sink? Fingerprints in the paper towel holder where the knife was washed and cleaned and hidden? Did not match me. Why DNA and hair found on the victim's body? Did not match me. And he went over all this stuff with the judge. And in the end, the judge ruled that there was lingering and residual doubt of my guilt. He decided that he was going to sentence me to 25 to life instead of sending me back to death row. Same victim, same alleged culprit, but this time I was going to get 25 to life. And then he went on to sentence me to 21 more years for kidnapping, which added up to 46 years in prison I was facing. 46 years minimum. I was 35 years old when this happened. If you add 46 to that, I'd be 81 years old. It was a death sentence. I was not going to get out of prison alive. You don't live to be 81 in prison. Not with the way the violence that goes on in prison, the gang fights, the stabbings, even the abuse by the guards, the poor health conditions. I was going to die in prison. And my family and friends still continue to believe in me, continue to try to find a way to prove my innocence. And then in 2001, the Arizona State Legislature passed a new law, a law making it easier for inmates to access DNA testing, to request the courts to do testing if there was materials available, if it would have had a bearing on the case, and if it had never been tested before. My attorneys petitioned the judge to do that testing. There was pants and underwear in my case that had never been tested. There was evidence of biological evidence inside those clothing materials. The judge granted that motion over the objection of the prosecution, who said it was a wild goose chase, a waste of the court's time and money. The prosecutor said that I'd been convicted twice by a jury of my peers, overwhelming evidence of my guilt, and that the court shouldn't grant the motion. Nevertheless, the judge did order that testing done, and he ordered the Phoenix Police Department's recently accredited DNA crime lab to do that testing. Now, after all I've been through, the last people in the world I wanted to touch anything was the Phoenix Police Department. But it turned out to be a very, very positive thing, a blessing, if you will, because law enforcement agencies in the U.S. are the only ones that have access to the nationwide DNA data bank, where DNA is stored from convicted criminals all over the U.S. And so when they extracted DNA from the pants, extracted DNA from the underwear, compared it to me and it wasn't me, compared it to the victim and it wasn't the victim, the lab technician on his own took that DNA and put it in a nationwide DNA data bank. And it came back with a match. A match to a man that at that very moment, right there in 2001, was serving a 10-year sentence for having sexually assaulted, committed a sexual assault just, I believe it's about 3 weeks after the murder. A man who was on parole at the time of this murder for another sexual offense, was living at his mom's house, which was right behind the bar where the murder happened. We got this man's name, information. My investigator went to see him in Arizona's prison system. He was just 3 months from being released. First, he denied any involvement, said he'd never been to the bar. He was an American Indian. He had a history of alcohol abuse. He admitted to having blackouts, and then he finally admitted that he remembered getting in an argument over the bathroom. And then he went on to say how he remembered waking up with blood all over him, wondering, my God, did I do that, after seeing the news reports. We had the man's admission of guilt now. It was tape recorded by my investigator. We had the DNA evidence now that pointed to him. And so they went to the prosecutor's office to get my release. And at first they were skeptical. They wanted to do more tests. They didn't want to free me. And a local Arizona newspaper, the Arizona Republic, did a front page headline story about my case. And the next day I got a call from my attorney, and they said, Ray, roll up, you're going home. And after 10 years, 3 months, and 8 days, I walked out of that prison to start my life all over as a new man, reunite with my family and friends, and also the distinction of being designated the 100th person in America to have faced the death penalty and to be later released, to be proven innocent. There is a serious problem with the death penalty, and there's mistakes made. And when we have a punishment that's irreversible, irrevocable, that we can't bring back someone to death when we execute them, then there's no longer a time for that punishment to be rendered in a society that as ours, and it's time for the system to change. And I'm hopefully be a part of that change, and so glad to be able to help the other groups that have been fighting for human rights all around this world and to abolish the death penalty once and for all.